Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Bridging the Gap. And thank you for joining us. And all of you here, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel on Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you can find us. Thank you for being here. And today I have Karina here with me. Hi, Karina.
Hi.
And she's joining because she's doing some work related to the subject. So she's a little familiar with it. And plus, it'd be good to have somebody to talk to and have some input. So today's subject, and we're going to talk about basically it's what is your furniture doing to you? Okay. And last week we talked about all the chemicals and stuff. It was crazy episode, at least for me. It was eye opening, and it was all about clothes and the chemicals in the clothes. And today we're talking about the chemicals in your furniture and your carpet, and what are they and how are they impacting you. So today we're, again, they're similar chemicals. They're not that much different. Here are volatile organic chemicals, formaldehyde. Yeah, it's organic. Why even your body makes some of this stuff? Flame retardants and organophosphates. And what happens? There's more than just these. There's phthalates and other chemicals that are involved. And we'll talk about some of these things. And what happens with these chemicals? Why are we exposed, right? How and why are we impacted? Because you bring in a carpet, and we've all bought brand new carpets and had brand new furnitures in our house, and then you have a smell, right? Do you remember that, Karina? When
Yeah.
we get a new carpet and there's a new carpet smell?
Like a new car smell, I guess, kind of thing. New
New
carpet
car, yeah.
smell, new car smell, like all types of new furniture or new material. And I would say that includes clothes too. They all have like
Mhm.
a specific kind of smell, but they all have the same kind of smell, I would say.
Very true. And that's what people say, wow, that's a nice new car smell, right? Or new carpet smell. They say these things. And what happens when, is there just a glitch? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's fine.
Okay. So everybody says, wow, new carpet smell. It smells fresh in here. But is it really good new carpet smell? Or are these chemicals really giving you trouble? What are they doing? Are they good? People may think that, oh, it smells new, so it must be good. Honestly, right? I mean, when you walk into a house and you are in a new house and you smell things, what do you think when you smell a new carpet smell?
I mean, I personally don't find it as refreshing. I find it a little bit stuffy, like whether in my
Okay.
face or in my nose.
Hmm.
It definitely smells kind of chemically. That's like a
Yes.
very vague term, but it
Hmm.
it 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 smells like the air almost isn't like clear. It's like heavier to breathe in.
Hmm. I agree with you. But I guess what I'm saying is socially, how do people react when you go into a house with new carpets and things?
Oh, well, they're like, oh, everything's brand new. This must mean everything's like expensive. Everything's like fresh. Like that means like I'm the first to use it. It's way better that I'm the first to use it, and that it smells like this because that means it was produced well or something. Which
Hmm.
is actually something that people do think. Strangely enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we accept this as something that's normal and not bad, right? But formaldehydes are really terrible. Like, for example, Joshan, right, is at school this week, and he's been working there. Joshan and Sahan are in DPT school right now, and they're all soaked in formaldehyde. And he was very upset because he comes home, he says his hair's falling out, right? Okay, that was first week. And then one day he went into the red light room and he has breakout and rash. And we're trying to figure out what was causing the problem. And turns out that every time he's in the lab with these cadavers with formaldehyde, he feels so itchy and his hair falls out whenever he's at school. He comes home and he feels better. But he goes over there, again, he's complaining. I know it's formaldehyde, is what he said, because all of a sudden his rash on his neck really bothers him and he starts to itch again. And it's really bad how much of an irritant it is, because he can't even sleep right. That's how bad. And you should see his face of how inflamed, and he basically has a heat rash on his body from his face to his neck, ears included, and it was traveling downwards. So formaldehyde is not a good substance. And and then when you buy these items, furnitures, carpets, and it has formaldehyde or phthalates or VOCs, well, VOCs are formaldehyde, or flame retardants, right? And you don't realize, and they're just off-gassing. When you smell them, it's called off-gassing. So if a brand new furniture or carpet is in your house and it's sitting there, there's off-gassing going on. And you'll realize, at least for me, I immediately feel like I have allergies and my head will start hurting, right? And you described it as, what did you feel? Stuffy?
Yeah, like stuffy, like I'm breathing in like very thick air.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes my eyes will get like watery and itchy too. Like like a classic allergic reaction, just no sneezing. And that happens to me when I'm in the presence of new carpets and things like that. The furniture, oh my God. And you know what? It doesn't go away in a day. It
Oh,
takes
it
time.
says for like a week. Well, I
Yeah.
feel like a week might be a stretch, but like definitely for enclosed spaces. So, for example, like a car, and I would consider a car seat furniture because it's detachable
Yes.
and it's not exactly part of the car and it's made of fabric. But
Yes.
the new car smell stays, I would say, the longest because it's in such a it's a closed atmosphere, so the gas has nowhere to go.
And you're jumping ahead because that
Sorry.
is next few. No. We will be talking about new cars and what that means to you, or cars, period. So it's one of the toxins and problems in the world today. And we don't realize that, and how do you handle it? So that's one of the things we will talk about in the future, in this series of environmental toxins, right? And you're right. It's really terrible because it's, you and I feel it stays for a week, but in reality, as we'll see, there's low grade emission of these toxins like for a long time. And when I was reading for the new sofa that I got for Joshin and Sahan, it was after I'd even bought it, and it said the chemicals can last for years. So it could be off-gassing for years. And you're sitting on it, you're laying on it. Kids are very exposed because they literally get it in their mouths, because they will put things on there and then whatever that's on their sofa or carpet will go in their mouth. And they have an extra way of getting it in. And then these kinds of items create dust. Okay? Everything creates dust, right? So basically, and we'll talk about it because in these articles that we have from Davis, Yulker, and Metro, and they talk about how the air quality is different because of this. It's air and it's in the dust. And then you have fibers that the children get in the mouth. And then, as you can see, it continues to off-gas for years, as I said. And then there's endocrine disruption, respiratory cancer risk, and see, it says especially kids via dust, but it's also microfibers for the kids. It can do a lot more than just endocrine disruption, respiratory issues, cancers. It can give you headaches. It can do so many things to your body that you don't realize. And as we've been talking about, we started with in this podcast, we were talking about exposure to what we were putting on the skin. cosmetically and with deodorants, shampoos, washes, things like that. We're already talking about that. Something that we directly put on the skin, right? And then we were talking about, Karina, can you go to slide 2 or
Yeah.
the slide 2 slides? Because last week was 3. No. 4, the other way.
Hold on.
No, the other way.
This one.
No, we talked about Wi-Fi. There we go. We went from deodorants, parabens, phthalates in your deodorants and stuff to Wi-Fi pollution, because this creates leaky gut and leaky brain. Okay. Then go back. Then we went to last week's podcast, which was about clothing and how that is directly on your skin, sitting there, and you can get lead, cadmium, mercury poisoning, along with many other things that again do microbiome disruption, create allergies, inflammation, hormone disruption, carcinogenic, all these things. And now we're talking about material in our, things that we sit on and the carpets, right? So we're building here. It's the same agents of mass destruction. Okay. And it's parabens, phthalates, triclosans, organic chemicals. Go to the next slide. The one that we're on. Organic chemicals, VOCs, flame retardants. Of course, that's furniture related specific, but still, we're in the same category of things that mimic. Why endocrine disruption? Because they mimic estrogen, they mimic testosterone, they mimic these things. And instead of allowing your normal hormone to go in there and do what it does, it'll sit there and block your normal hormone and disrupt the endocrine cycle, and it will disrupt the function of your endocrine system. And then what happens is people end up with, men are a little bit more feminine and females end up being more masculine. And then there's infertility issues. Then you're wondering where ADD, ADHD, and things like that are also happening. Okay, because allergic reactions and things like that. So all these things, if people don't realize, are happening. Okay, and all we're exposed daily to these things, chemicals from our food, clothes, things we use, things we sit on.
And there's a question.
And
sorry.
yeah,
to interrupt. It says, would you say the cloth we wear would impact the way we interact with others?
Good question, actually. Of course it would. Why not? Because if we're wearing clothes and they're disrupting us, okay, and they're causing us to feel ill without us realizing, and then we go and have a conversation with somebody else and we might have a headache. Mercury is a neurotoxin. Lead, it's a neurotoxin. So now it's affecting you neurologically, right? Where your brain functions. And now you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and you got brain fog. Okay, you're having allergic symptoms. You're going to be upset about the situation, right? You're not going to react so easily because your body and your mind are occupied with what's going on in your body. And you're going to half hear somebody. You're going to half pay attention. And the person that you're talking to is going to feel like, what's going on here? I'm trying to have a conversation with you, but you're not listening, or you're having a problem, it looks like, So that can be a different conversation than if you were healthy, right? So if you're healthy, you can listen well, you can hear well, you can respond well, and the other person can be heard. And it's a good, healthy conversation. Okay, thank you for that question. And then, so what I've read in these articles is 90% of the time people are now spending indoors in their house. So let's go to the next slide. Look at 90% of the time, you're in the house. Now, this one came from the Metro. The first image is from the Metro article, and the bottom image is from the article above the Metro article. But this is what's going on, right? You've got that much toxin you're exposed to. You either breathe it in, it sits on your skin and absorb it in, or if you're a baby, you're also digesting it. You're ingesting it and digesting it. And it creates developmental issues, carcinogenic problems, reproductive, and why so many people are infertile today, endocrine. Why do people have hormonal problems all the time? And the hormonal problems cause your mental emotional imbalance. Like we're talking about having, say, hey, are you PMSing? You know what I mean? Like that's the reaction somebody would have if you don't react, if you are trying to have a conversation and the person looks like they're having a moment, right? Is there something going on with you? Well, endocrine disruption. And then immuno problems, right? Immunohazard. Basically, your immune system will be too busy dealing with these chemicals as they behave as allergens, fighting them off constantly, and then you end up with mast cell reaction. So where your immune system is always on, always trying to fight something because it sees it, it feels it, it senses it, and it's always overreacting. And there's always something to attack, and it never gets a break. And then you feel run down and fatigued, and then tired. You can't remember things, and feel sluggish. You're trying to get through the day, and it's kind of makes everything difficult. And you spend 90% of the time indoors. People are not outdoors anymore, right? Like they used to be. So that's the first slide. And you see how on the bottom image, it's about coatings, adhesive, extracts. And that releases VOCs. That specific paper was talking about VOCs, and we'll go a little bit in through the articles. And then those VOCs are toluene, xylene, benzene, styrene, and formaldehyde. And look at how you're in the house being exposed and you have poor indoor air quality. And yet you don't know it. You don't realize it. You don't think about it. And there's no proper air filters in people's houses. You have some, maybe air filters in your house, but not good enough, right? So then there's a problem of all these chemicals do kill. Like we're talking about clothing, though this was not addressed in these articles, but I'm going to remind you because it was addressed in the articles last week, where it talks about these chemicals actually killing healthy bacteria in your environment and on your skin and in your body. So if these chemicals are harsh and they kill not just human or disrupt human systems, but they also disrupt the microbial systems that are living alongside of you. And just to give perspective, okay, you have to think about how many eukaryotic cells are in a human body. I don't know the exact number, but let's say there are a trillion. You want to know that for bacteria, they are double, triple the amount of bacterial cells on a human body. So if there's 1 trillion human cells, there's 2 to 3 trillion bacterial cells. So if you want to understand, who are you really? Are you the eukaryotic cells that make up your body, or are you the bacterial cell? So bacterial health is very important because we need them to survive and exist in a healthy way. We want the bacteria on our skin to be good, healthy bacteria. We want the bacteria in our gut to be good, healthy bacteria. It takes care of us. It protects us. It digests our food for us, right? But if you were exposing yourself to all these chemicals on a regular basis, you're killing them as well as harming yourself. And so you disrupt the whole balance inside your body and outside. So these chemicals will disrupt all the microbiome flora in your environment, on your skin, in your gut, which messes everything up in the end. Okay? So let's go back to the original slide with the carpet, because I'm going to go over these articles. And the first article is about VOCs and dermal ingestions and things like that. And that one, I think they were not so worried in that, because they were talking about chemical exposure from unupholstered furniture, flame retardants, and basically the study looked at VOCs here and flame retardants and the emission from upholstered furniture. And they looked at inhalation, they looked at ingestion and dermal exposure for adults, toddlers, and infants. And the way they did it is you sit on the chair, what does it release? Is it affecting the air? And things like that. What's coming off of the chair that you sit on every time you sit on it? Because, whenever you sit on something and you get up, when you sit on it, it sinks. And when you get up, air fills it up again. And when that happens, it's releasing things, right? So here, the article basically is saying on upholstered furniture that is not sprayed with too many things, you don't have anything to worry about. Give me 1 second to just cover what's, because they did specific type of studies. They did find that the VOC exposure was there. It existed. Additives were there. It just says barrier textiles can reduce or eliminate flame retardant exposure.
And also, I think the inhalation wasn't actually, like, they were saying that inhalation was less than 1% of like you're inhaling less than, like, that's not the biggest problem. The largest problem as to how the chemicals got into the system of these people is through, I believe I think it's dermal is what they said. That was the biggest one, it said. And then also organophosphate, that was the one that released the most, I guess released the most chemicals. Is that the right term? I wouldn't say released the most chemicals.
Off-gas?
Yeah, released the most off-gas that got into the people's system. Although it was a mixture of all. And then there was also one that was made out of fiberglass. I still can't get over this. One of the testing materials.
That's the next article, by the way.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. They put fiberglass in one of the chairs, or at least one of the chairs they used had fiberglass in it. That's all I have to say. I don't think I have to say anything more. But
yeah, nothing is real anymore. Everything is created. Plastics, fiberglass, synthetic, basically. That's what you're saying, right? Like, how synthetic can everything be? Nothing is natural anymore. We're not living in a natural world. We are literally surrounded by and enclosed by unnatural items that are making us sick, right? I think that was your point, basically, in saying this stuff. So the next article, and that was about VOCs again, emissions, irritations, cognitive effects. And that's where they did specific finishes, I believe they were testing here on this article. Give me 1 second.
Oh, that was for the furniture finishes?
Yes, this one was about finishes.
They were spraying also a lot of stuff, I believe, in there on the wood that was also had chemicals on it.
Yeah, it's saying that the main focus was in the review paper examining VOCs, emissions from coated furniture, paints, varnishes, lacquers, adhesives, and wood-based panels. It covered sources of emissions, measurements, health impacts, regulations, and strategies to reduce emissions. So it talked about furniture made from solid wood, composites, which was particle board, MDF, OSB, a lot of acronyms, but they all emitted VOCs. I think you have a little bit of experience with this, right?
Yeah. So most particle board, if not all the big particle board, a lot of popular companies, let's keep it like that. A lot of popular companies, you most likely know of them. They use particle boards in all their material and all their furniture. Everything's made up of particle boards. And in this particle board is formaldehyde. And the formaldehyde is not just harmful for you to inhale, it's very harmful to produce in the first place. And it's like it's a very big CO2 emitter into the world right now. And it's not exactly necessary, as there are many other ways that you can naturally make a formaldehyde-like substance. I don't know if I should say too much, as I'm working with my professor right now on one of these substances or on one of these materials that can produce a formaldehyde-like substance and keep the same strength up as well as the appearance
without being toxic.
Without being toxic. It actually cleans up the environment to produce this sort of material. But I don't want to say too much about it.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, we're just basically, these 3 articles talk about off-gassing and the exposure to people who have purchased these items in their house, right? We haven't even covered, or we're not going to cover the process of actually making these items. Well, at least not through the articles, but we talked about a little bit last week about how clothing is made all around the world, and they make it in different ways. Different steps are made in different countries where the laws and rules are different, and they allow for those specific toxins to be okay in their environment, in their water, and they don't complain about it. And so they do the same thing with furniture. If you think, where does most of your furniture come from? It doesn't all come from USA, okay? It comes from other countries. And when it comes from other countries, which don't realize, any item you buy from another country, it has to be completely sprayed down before it comes in. So even food items, you have to think about it. Everything gets sprayed down because they do not want bugs and insects from other countries coming in to the USA or wherever you live. So if you don't live in the USA, then if you're living in France, you don't want American bugs in France. It disrupts French flora, it disrupts the whole cycle of the organisms that live in that country. We don't have the same organisms living here that would live in Australia, for example. I mean, what a different country. Can you imagine if those big gigantic spiders came to live here? Oh God, we don't want those. Exactly. But it would disrupt everything because they would be eating off of, or, other things. Like, I think the Japanese lanternflies or Chinese lantern.
Yeah, I know. They're an invasive species right now.
Yes.
Well, they have them for a while, but.
Correct. But they're an invasive species. Somebody brought them over. They're not supposed to be here. And they are really disrupting the environment and causing problems, which most people are not paying attention to because they don't know. But what they do is, in order to avoid these invasive species, they spray everything down, especially furniture. So a lot of times you'll smell not just these VOCs, you will also smell insecticides and pesticides that are on furniture, and they're also off-gassing, disrupting your hormones, being cancer-causing, and suppressing your immune system and doing things like that. So that's happening, as well as the process of making these items is toxic each step of the way. The particle board, as you're saying, releases formaldehyde. okay, maybe we have local grade exposure, but what about the people who made this stuff, who are going to work every day making the particle board? And I think, Karina, you had some experience with this, right? Going
Yeah.
into a factory.
Well, we went to a it was like a concrete factory, an aggregate factory, um, and walking in, like you have to go. It's like a, I think, 3-floor building where the office area is on top, and then I think the bottom 2 floors are the entire factory area where all the machines and everything are. As we walked into that place, we had the warning to wear a mask and stuff. Some people did not. And walking into that place, you could see the dust all in the air. It was so clear to see. And then you pan to the workers and you look to the workers, and none of them are wearing masks. And they're literally getting their faces all up in the aggregate that was being made. Although, and also, I believe they're working different machines that we didn't really get to tour, but they had no masks whatsoever. And even after that, I wore a mask and I got out of there and I still got sick just from
For a whole week.
Yeah, I
You
got
were
sick
sick for a week.
and
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I imagine that they're used to it, but not exact. Like their body is not taking it well still. It even though they themselves are used to it in the sense that they can handle staying in that atmosphere for a longer period of time, it still is very harmful to their bodies.
And probably they don't realize what's going to come for them down the line, right?
Right.
If they've got lung issues going on, or
And you don't want to be breathing in a cement-like substance into your system, anyways. And they work with glass as well. In that same, like some of the materials made with glass, you don't want to be inhaling any of that directly into your lungs or into your mouth or wherever.
Mhm. So see, production, transportation, um, and then of course uh, purchasing, and bringing it home. So usage of all this material, each step, there's a lot of toxicity going on. And so as this article, the second article, the Yulka article, talks about the finishes and things like that, and adhesives, urea, formaldehyde resins, wood extracts, and solvent. And as I talked about in the other slide it's formaldehyde, toluene, benzene, xylene, ethylbenzene, styrene, and p-dichlorobenzene. So they were saying if you have waterborne and UV curable coating, it emits lesser VOCs than traditional solvent-based systems. Moisture content, manufacturing process, and surface treatment also influence emission levels and profiles. Okay. Health effects, acute exposure would be eye, nose, and this is what they documented. It's eye, nose, and throat irritation, headaches, dizziness, effects on the central nervous system and respiratory, chronic, long-term. Exposure or more serious risks, including immune system effects, blood chemistry changes, leukemia, neurological issues, for example, memory loss, neuropathy, asthma, and potential carcinogenity. For children are especially vulnerable due to developing systems, higher breathing rates relative to body weight, and slower metabolism of chemicals. Okay, so they measured everything. In the whole article, they talked about, and the overall conclusion that coated furniture is a significant indoor VOC source and can degrade air quality and pose health risks, particularly with prolonged exposure. They're not saying multiple, like they're not saying new furniture all the time. They're talking about your sofa that's in your house that you're exposed to daily. Okay. So their concern is, and their request is consumer awareness, stricter regulation, better manufacturing practices, trying to off gas, and developing safer coding mechanisms, technologies, and better regulation. That's the same thing almost that the third article claims, but the third article literally shows you, like in that house. Go to the next slide.
Yeah.
The next slide with the house on it. Yeah, this third article literally talks about it. The third article, that image tells you everything what the third article was about. It measured the phthalates, the phenols, the flame retardants, the fragrances, and the PFAs. And they'll tell you that phthalates are the highest that you will find because of furniture and carpet, and then and so on. And they're showing you that 90% of the time you're in the house, you're exposed to these things on a daily basis, and what health issue it's really creating. And this is literally what this third article is talking about. And they were really upset about the whole thing, and they are really trying to bring awareness about these things.
This kind of reminds me of, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I just felt like more like this stuff has happened like probably a lot worse in the past, and obviously it hasn't stopped happening now. There was this one situation, and there's even a movie you can watch where it's called Radium Girls, but it's a real life situation where the paint I believe the paint had lead in it, and there would be women who had to go they had to paint watches for military and public, and radium was placed in the paint as well, and it was like a glowing paint. And to paint these things, they would paint the watch or whatever they're painting, and then I believe they would like sharpen the brush by like licking it, so they would be ingesting the radium and the paint and whatever else was in the paint, and they would just keep doing that all day, and nobody knew the entire time. And I believe it. Oh yeah, it even made them glow in the dark. After
What?
Yeah, that's how much radium they had. Yeah, and a lot of workers obviously they were deteriorating from all this radium that they were intaking. Like if you're taking enough that you start glowing, then they still had no idea, as it was something that was said to be completely normal, completely unhazardous. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing that's going on here now, just a little more. But it is a situation that you can look upon.
And radium is a radioactive element.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they were glowing.
And that's just the workers who were working on it, and that was a product that they were taking and they were producing to who knows how many people at that point after that, even though they weren't directly ingesting it. Like it's still not any better than the worker situation.
Yeah, that's crazy. But they used to put lead in paint before. That was
that's why I said lead, and that's what I thought. Yeah. But I just pulled it up because I just wanted to be sure in what I was saying. But it turns out it was radium. But I believe there was lead in there as well too. It was lead and radium.
Yeah, radium used to be in lead. Lead used to be in paint all the time before, until they removed the lead. It seems that they used lead to add color to the paint, right? Or to get the color to stick. Because they did the same thing with clothing. They still add lead to the clothing for dyes, for the dyeing process. So now if you have clothing that has color in it, it could possibly have lead, cadmium, or mercury, neurotoxins. So basically it's there. So in this article though, you're right, but this article, what's happening is we're not looking at Well,
that's the
maybe at
problem
this
is,
age, you and I are not licking it.
yeah, as a kid then, yeah. But I was gonna say, I feel like this is the consumer stage, not the worker so much the worker stage, which was what I was talking about. This is more the consumer stage where it it's not something you'll notice until you won't even notice when it starts giving you problems because it's something that you're told is completely fine, and you won't realize it unless someone tells you the actual effects of what they're giving you. And right now, nobody knows anything.
And you don't really, yeah, exactly. You don't know. You're surrounded by it. So how are you going to stick your finger on the, yes, this is what caused it? Like, for example, the only reason Joshan realized formaldehyde exposure was what's giving him his heat rash is because he is specifically in that environment all the time, right? Now, the only reason he knows it's toxic for him is because he actually got the rash. What about everybody else that is in the lab with him that didn't get the heat rash? Okay. Do they know what it's doing to them? They don't know what formaldehyde's doing to them, and those teachers that teach the class every day, they're exposed to that formaldehyde. They claim it's normal. It's not normal. It's crazy. So, so here in this article, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I would like to add that when I was working with the material with this formaldehyde-like substance, which is produced, I was touching the particle boards that we were experimenting with, that we created. I never had any sort of heat rash or any issue like that. I just felt like that made sense to add that I haven't had any sort of rashing, nothing wrong with my skin because of it, nothing wrong with my wellness, including, and that includes like, the people I'm working with as well. You don't see any or hear about any issues with these things that we're working with.
It's a good sign because you're very sensitive to these things.
Yeah.
So, so in this article, it literally talks about kids and dust ingestion, inhalation, and dermal uptake from the air for ages 3 to 6, right? And they ingest, they're saying several phthalates and certain RF8, the flame retardants produce the highest estimated intakes, okay? Which phthalate, just you see, is the light blue. You can see it's the highest things, and the RF's there. But for kids, they had a different chart in the article where it said, of course, they're being exposed to all of these, but there was a higher amount of ingestion of these chemicals compared to adults. And it's saying that the chemicals detected, hazard traits, many of the chemicals detected in dust share toxicological concerns, reproductive toxicity, endocrine disruption, which we keep talking about. The indoor dust is a good indicator. And children and other vulnerable groups face continuous low-level exposure to chemical mixtures. And the authors of this article call for a greater standardization in dust sampling and analytical methods to improve comparability across studies. They also say that findings support the need for cumulative exposure research, intervention strategies, and public policy attention to chemicals that migrate from products into the indoor environment. So they really are claiming that there is such complex mixture of things in the air in the United States, in people's homes, including fragrances and things like that. Fragrances, of course, more than just furniture, but it's all in there. And they're very concerned. The authors of these articles are very concerned about the toxicity, and they're unhappy about what's going on. So here are the things. Now we educated you on all these things, right? What do you do about it? Back to the other slide, please. So First is being aware. That is the most important thing, is to know that this is happening. And now you start making changes slowly, okay, for healthier options. For furniture and carpets, Green Guard, Green Guard Gold, solid, that's a good company. If they say, not good company, it's a standard. Green Guard is a standard. Like Okotek is a standard, right? So the thing is, but I think Okotek is a standard more for clothing. It could be for furniture as well, because I was looking at it on Amazon when I was looking to buy couches. So what happens is, if you get Green Guard Gold carpets, they're made with much less toxicity. There was a website I found, and if I go on Grok, I do my research. Do your research on your AI tools. It'll tell you the safest place, the most non-toxic places to get your items. It'll give it to you. There's some sites out there. We're hoping to have some products down the line that are less toxic or non-toxic, period, because we don't want any sort of toxicity. It used to be everything was made naturally. There was no toxins before, but now everything's toxic. What were you going to say?
I was going to say also, don't use, not all AI tools should be used. You should do your research and pick and choose which sites. We'll not be naming any names.
Very true. Okay, Grok, I will name a name. Grok, I find, is very good, very user friendly, and just ask specific questions and it gives you answers. Okay. So I think you just have to learn how to use it well. And for me, Grok has worked well. I've gotten good answers and guidance from Grok. But I have to say, back in the day, there were no chemicals like these to make clothing. There was no chemicals like these to make carpets and furniture. It was made out of real stuff, real wood, real wool, or hemp, or twine, okay, and burlap, whatever, leather. It was real. It was naturally processed, sun dried, heated, whatever needed to happen. Like it says here, wool, jute rugs, they're all good and healthy because they're naturally made. You just shear the sheep and use the wool. Okay, so when you use these things which are naturally made like they used to be traditionally, we have to go back to the roots. And that's what we have to do. Unfortunately, we're not at our house every day, 100% of the time, which means if you're going in other environments that are not natural, yeah, you are going to have to deal with chemicals. So what do you do about it? Go outside, spend a lot of time in the sun, outside in the open air, when the forest fires are not contaminating our air. Spend time outside, ground yourself, put your feet on the ground, okay, and breathe some fresh air. Do breathing techniques where the air is clean. Use filters in your house, air filters. Find a way to eat fermented foods to grow healthy bacteria inside and outside of your body. Okay. Here it's recommending to use used furniture already off-gassed, or you air out brand new items. But I've looked up, as I said, I looked it up. How long does it take to air out something out? What are you going to do? Air out something for a year or so? And even then you'll have low-grade stuff. Maybe I think Crate and Barrel. Crate and Barrel is a furniture store. I was looking it up, that actually has low toxic carpets in furniture. So you might, and Crate and Barrel, they have their Crate and Barrel stores here in the USA. It might be, is it a US company, Karina? Do you know? It might be a Crate and Barrel.
I can look this up right now, actually.
Yeah, I think Crate and Barrel is a U.S. company, so you can find that, and it's even better if it's made in the USA, which
It's
means
a
that
it's an American-found retail company that operates in the U.S., but it's owned by a German parent corporation.
as long as it's made, if it's made in the USA, that's even better than if it's imported. So do some research and figure it out, because it seems like there's some confusion there, right? Even though it's made in it's a US company, it's got German roots or something, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're buying is local as much as possible, the way it used to be. In small villages, you go to the local carpenter or woodworker or weaver or sewer and get your clothing, and it was one of a kind. And now everybody's wearing the same stuff. You can buy the same carpet around the world. You can buy the same sofa around the world. Well, it's a little bit of a problem when you have to mass produce things, because it happens with machinery, it happens with chemicals and processes that nobody's aware of. Whereas if it happens down the street, you can go in the store and look in the shop and see what is that person, how are they making it, right? You can ask questions. You can't ask a big company, hey, show me your factory, This is where all the confusion is coming in. But it is really important to understand all these things are impacting us daily, and it's messing up everything. And if we don't do something about this, what's going to happen down the line? Right now, we're being exposed. This kind of industry hasn't been around that long. Hasn't been around forever. But the longer it's around, the more damage it does down the generations, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's terrible. Can you imagine sick people with cancer, immune issues, hormonal disruptions? What kind of people will be left? Androgynous, with infertile. Nobody's going to be able to have children. What's going to happen? I mean, realistically, look at what we're talking about. And that's what I hope that this series sheds light on everything and wakes people up and gets people to really see all the hazards. I mean, I really seriously thought that we've changed all our stuff in the kitchen. The microwave's gone. It's been gone for a long time in our house. We have non-toxic cookware. I use glass. Replace things with glass and metal or ceramic. And we've changed what we use on our body to natural oils. Our water is ozone filtered water. We changed so many things in our house, and yet it's not enough. It's not enough. We haven't changed the furniture because you got to go to the furniture store to buy the furniture. Where else am I going to get it? Our clothing, that last week's episode was mind-blowing, is how terrible it is. I know that we're moving slowly away and away from cotton and real material. It just goes crazy. So this is, hopefully this episode was helpful for everybody. Do you have any comments, Karina, to say or anything?
Not for now. I was thinking about something earlier, but I guess we could do a different episode.
No, go ahead. If you want to say it, go right ahead.
I was just thinking, this is all stuff that, all the furniture gets sprayed with all these chemicals, all these pesticides. A lot of things that people don't know as well is that some companies, a lot of the vegetables you get will have pesticide runoff if they're not washed, or if the process is not overseen. Sometimes the pesticide does not get washed off, and you're eating direct. And if you don't wash your veggies, you're eating pesticides directly. And also a lot of I believe it's pesticide waste or insecticide waste that can also get put directly into your pet food. If you didn't know that, especially low quality pet food. So in terms of that, I would also say that's something you need to do your research for. Um, I think it's especially in cat food, like cat kibble, whatever. And I feel like the more you know about this kind of stuff, the more you'll realize that it's actually even worse than you really thought it was. And it's a little bit hard to get away from because even the people producing it, for example, in this documentary I was watching, even the farmers can't really do anything about it because they're getting pushed out by a lot of the companies, and if they don't do it, they're also in debt. So these farmers, most of them can't really follow their own natural processes anymore because they're under contract of other companies. So it's kind of a lot, but
yeah, I mean, some of these things that you're talking about, we're going to be talking about down the line.
That's what I was
It's on our list. Yeah,
really.
but honestly, it's not just washing off the pesticides. It's literally the pesticides soak into the soil, and it's literally in the fruit and the vegetables that you're eating. So not just is it on the outside of the vegetable or fruit you're eating, it's already also soaked in, and that's why corn is a huge problem. And a lot of these things have been genetically modified too, because corn, oh gosh, one of the worst, one of the top three. They had butterflies that would come to eat the corn, and there was just fields of dead butterflies right around the corn because it was poisonous. But yet they sell it to us.
There's a comment. I don't fully understand the question, but I'll read it to you. It says, "When does gluten-free begin? Is this a real story, and how is this related to this episode?"
Gluten-free. Gluten-free is not related to this episode exactly, but it's gluten. But gluten-free.
And when you're talking, I believe we'll get to that one. Like, it's probably more so going to be in the episode about like food, probably the FDA, which will probably be
I don't think we have that episode coming up.
Well, like as in like when we're talking about food processes.
Yeah, we on another episode.
Like
on another series, we will talk about it. But where does gluten enter with these kinds of things? Well, I was just talking about corn, right? Corn, wheat, and soy are the top 3 crops in the world that are the most GMO'd, and they're the most GMO'd substances. Okay, and there's a lot to talk about on this subject. So maybe we have to talk about this, create a whole episode on foods and that are GMO'd and made in weaponized. Basically, they're weaponized. So gluten's in everything. Gluten is in things that you don't even realize that you have gluten in. Okay, and the gluten has been GMO, just like I explained to you about the corn. So they changed the genes, and the way they change a gene, sometimes you don't even know how they're changing the genes and what they're putting in. For example, I'll give you an example of an article I read because I have to still to give you good information on gluten. I will talk about something else right now. I will wait until I have all the right information for gluten.
And in terms of I'm not sure if you're referring to the farming stuff I was talking about, but I believe the documentary I watched was called Food Inc. It was actually introduced to me in like a college class. Oh, there's another question. I love to eat popcorn.
Hold on, let me finish. Hold on 1 second. Let me finish answering. So there was in Italy. This happened in Italy. There was a young man around 23, and he ate a tomato. He ate a sandwich. He was allergic to iodine and shellfish. And all he was having was, he was taking a lunch break from work, and he was having a sandwich. Just a regular sandwich with lettuce, tomato, and some meat in it. Okay. Well, he ended up having allergic reaction, went into anaphylactic shock, and they took him to the hospital, and they were trying to help him and figure out how to combat what was happening. But you need to know what the allergen was in order to address it to save the kid's life. Well, the kid happened to die because nobody knew that the tomato he had eaten for lunch actually had iodine and shellfish in it that he was allergic to. And this is what caused the problem. So gluten has similar things in there. A lot of the foods you eat that are not organic have GMO things in there that cause allergic reactions. And then there's a category of vaccines that have substances in there that you're not aware of. And what happens is even simple things, they have egg mix in there. They have dairy stuff in there, and you get injected with these things. And what it does is it mounts an immune response. But what that tells your body is that this is a foreign substance that's not good for you. Okay? So that ends up creating other issues where you'll start mounting every time you eat bread, your body will start mounting an allergic reaction response because this was there, and nobody's aware of these things. So that's a whole big subject. But go ahead, Karina. You were talking about something specific.
Well, no, I was saying there's another question.
So I think I addressed gluten a little bit here, but it's a whole This is a whole different thing. So gluten, yeah.
Okay, I just want to get to this first. It says, I love eating popcorn in the theater, but somehow it causes my stomach to bloat in a few hours after leaving the theater. Is this normal? In terms of eating popcorn, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've just told you a lot about corn, right?
Yeah, corn itself is very, very heavily processed, heavily modified, and I believe I believe you said most of the corn-related information just now.
Yeah, there's a lot with corn because the corn in the theater, nobody's monitoring. Excuse me, are you giving me organic corn popcorn? It's not. First of all, it's the corn. Second of all, it's the butter. What people don't realize is that's not really butter. Don't ask me what it is. But if you read the packages and things, you'll find that there's more plastic in the so-called butters than there is real butter. So if you're eating microplastics in your food because it's in the corn and you want to not get stomach aches, well, what are you having a stomach ache to? It's not really corn or popcorn you're eating. You're eating modified things with plastic substance that tastes like butter. That's why they call it a spread. They don't really call it butter anymore, right? So Country Crock is a spread. It's not a butter, but people think that's butter and they buy huge cartons, huge like tubs of it. So you got to really pay attention and read the labels to what you eat. I get stomach aches every time I eat popcorn in the theater. And so I don't eat popcorn in the theater. If I really want it, I'll go find organic popcorn and I will put it in the pot, add some oil and do it, pop the corn myself. But, it's a shame. We all love corn a lot, but in my family, we don't eat corn that much at all. In fact, we've stopped eating corn because of these things. We stopped eating gluten in my family because of these things.
And I would say this whole topic, I guess, relates to the topic of furniture and carpets is because you're also you're not just ingesting, in the sense that furniture and carpets is where you ingest the materials, I guess through touch, dermally, and then in terms of kids, you actually eat it. But food is it's a different side where you're actually eating the chemicals, eating the material. So it's just a little different, but the same concept.
Because it's all about toxins. What are we exposing ourselves to? Whether it's something that we eat, something that we wear, something that we use. Yeah, it's very true. It makes sense. It just wasn't a part of the series, and maybe I should add it later on in the series. And I will. That's a good suggestion.
And then there's another question that says, can healing your way suggest a better direction, or suggest in a better direction?
For everything, sure.
Uh,
I mean, so if it was related to food, then find a local farm that's organic and go get your vegetables from there. Go get your meats from there. Go get your eggs. Amish markets have healthy, organic meats, fruits, and vegetables. Eat local, buy local, so you know what's in everything you eat, everything you buy, in your furniture, in your carpets. Use GreenGuard and do your research and find non-toxic furniture. If you're looking for, forgot to do our plug for Oil Divine. If you're looking for non-toxic products to use in your kitchen, in your house for cleaning, for on your skin, Oil Divine. If you go there, use the promo code HYWBTG for Bridging the Gap. You will get a free gift for every order $50 and more, and you can use it in store and online at every time you purchase from there. We've been using their products, so we use their soap for showering. I've been using their laundry soap and other cleaning agent soaps. I use their oils on my body and my face, and they don't make you feel greasy. And in fact, they've improved my skin. So you look for, there has to be places where you can buy things that are healthy for you and non-toxic. For example, Crate and Barrel, on the subject of furniture, is less toxic by a good amount than most furniture you can buy anywhere else. Okay.
And sorry, I think this might be more specific. It says anything you do at Healing Your Way team that helps.
Yes. Detoxing, infrared sauna, halo sauna. That's detoxing the salt, and then the IR sauna itself will detox you. Taking a teaspoon of 1 to 2 teaspoons, I think, of oil before you come in will not only detox you from the outside, but it will take care of all the toxins inside your body as you detox. Red light therapy, it'll help with your mitochondria, it'll create more ATP, and it will help flush out things. Okay. The hot cold plunge is great detox too, because the hot opens everything up, and then the cold seals everything. It's like a pump, open, close, open, close. That's what happens to your body, and it literally squeezes out our toxins. You're welcome to come and do AccuDetox. Acupuncture is great detox, specifically AccuDetox, and acupuncture itself is great for detoxing from anything you are dealing with, and for all these other health issues, the endocrine disruption, the respiratory, the cancerous, all these things. Acupuncture is great for. And we have many other amazing therapies at Healing Your Way that can help you with all the side effects that you may experience in your daily life from products and things that you are in contact with and you're unaware of. Hopefully that was a better answer to you for everybody. Well, thank you for being on this episode. Thank you, Karina, for being here today to have this conversation with me. And we hope to see you next time. And next time what is the subject next time?
Let me check.
Is it what's in your food? Or not in your food, sorry.
It is cookware, aluminum foil, and plastic wrap.
Yep. So we'll look forward to seeing you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Come visit us. We have 3 locations, 1909 in Levittown, Newtown, and Doylestown. Hope to see you soon.